Hey, first generation comments. Are you pre-law and thinking about going to law school? Or maybe you're not pre-law yet, but you're interested and thinking about making a switch? Or maybe you're interested in things like moot court or mock trial and want some more information? Well, you've come to the right video. I sat down with Dr. Barbara Kirby, who is the Director of Pre-Law Advising with the Office of Undergraduate Education, to share an overview of how the Pre-Law Advising Office prepares students for competitive applications to law school, and to share some insights from her years both as a lawyer and as an advisor in the pre-law advising office. Check it out.
Hi, Derek.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Kerber, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our pre-law overview talk. My name is Derek Jackson. I am a program specialist with the Office of Undergraduate Education. With me is Dr. Barbara Kirby, who is the Director of Pre-Law Advising here at the University of Texas at Dallas. And without further ado, I would like to turn over to Dr. Kirby. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate this.
It is my pleasure. I'm always, as you know, very happy to talk to anyone about what we have to offer at the Pre-Law Advising Center. Um, and I would urge anyone who's watching this presentation, if you are thinking about law school, if you're not sure, or if you're very sure, wherever you are on the spectrum, feel free to reach out to me, send me an email, and we can set up an appointment and we can talk in person about your own particular journey, about why you might be thinking about law school, and about what kinds of steps you might need to take now. One of the first things I'd say is here's our mission to help students make informed decisions about their academic and personal preparation for law school and for a legal career. Some of you might have friends, and I know within your particular group, there's a lot of pre-med types. And pre-med and pre-law are two very, very different beasts. In pre-med, there are tons of prerequisites. You have to get into a major, take specific courses that are going to prepare you for the MCAT. There are a number of resume items that you are required to get regarding shadowing of doctors, internships, and so forth. Pre-law is very different than that because the law schools want to make sure that you are getting a strong undergraduate education in any particular major. They value what there is in the majors in EPS, in JSOM. We have some kind of computer science majors, strong science background majors. And so the most important thing is just making sure that you study something that you love, that you get a broad background, that you make great grades. And then when it comes time to put in your application to get a strong score on the LSAT. So there is no pre-law major. And the reason there isn't is because law schools want to teach you the law. And so they just want to see strong, broad-based academics. I think it's important to take some courses where you're going to do a lot of reading and writing because lawyers are wordsmiths. And so you need to build up those kinds of skills at the beginning. And so the Pre-Law Advising Center, we are there for you for the whole part of your journey. So we are not something you have to sign up for. We're not something you have to join. We're not something you have to declare. We are just there to assist you. So let me tell you some of the things we assist you with. So first of all is to tell you about the law school admissions process. And the first thing is deciding if law school is a good choice for you. We have the whole range. We have people who've said they wanted to be lawyers since they were 5. And honestly, I don't know if we make our best life decisions when we're 5 years old. So I always challenge those people to say, okay, tell me why. Tell me why you were thinking about law school. And so one of the ways that we help you determine if law school is a good choice is giving you a lot of information about what the career itself looks like. So if you are someone who is thinking I am interested in a particular area of law. I've been involved with, patent law, or, I think business law looks interesting to me. Then we can, or if you think, I don't even know what lawyers do, we bring in a number of people in the legal profession to talk about what they do, what their practice of law looks like in a lot of different areas. And so in that way, you can get to the point where you can say, I see what lawyers do, and I think I can see myself doing that. Next thing, of course, is we recommend classes that you can take that develop skills that you might need for law school. So no matter what your major is, there are a few basic classes that I think that everyone thinking about law school should take. One is business law. Unfortunately, over in JSOM, they offer business law, multiple sections every semester. So it's a course that you can fit in. It actually was the first class that I took that made me interested, because there was just something that it sparked in me that made me think these are really interesting issues to analyze, and I think I can see myself doing this. Also, the two political science classes, constitutional law and civil liberties, are two other good courses to take, because they are taught in the way that they teach law school, which is the case law method. So you're reading and briefing Supreme Court cases. And then it's kind of law school light. The professors, who are both lawyers, who are ex-lawyers, who teach these classes, will ask students to, tell them information and kind of guide them through the meanings of the different cases. Of course, the law school admissions test is the test that everybody has to take to get into law school. I advise that you start preparing for it during the spring of your junior year. Perhaps take it during the summer after that, especially if you have less going on during the summer than you do during the regular school year. Get in your law school applications by the end of your first semester of your senior year, so that you can start the following fall. So for example, what I'm doing right now, I have students who have been taking the LSAT during this summer. Some of them, took the late August test, which we're just getting scores about. I'm helping them with their applications, personal statements, and so forth, so that they can get their applications in by the end of the year. Most of them will be graduating then in May of 2021 and starting law school in fall of 2021. So that's the time frame I'll help you set up. Is here's when I think you should work on the LSAT. Here's when I think you should get your application in. Here's when I think that you should be getting information back. And then, of course, we recommend extracurricular activities, internship opportunities if they come up. And I'll talk about those a little more in a minute. As far as application preparation, we will have multiple, like especially what we're doing right now are webinars and online meetings where we explain what the application process is. Your application includes letters of recommendation, so I can talk to you about who you should talk to, professors, internship supervisors, employers, who might be able to write good recommendation letters for you. And then we have workshops, personal statement workshops, addenda writing workshops, resume workshops, and then I provide one-on-one assistance with all of those. So I can give you a pretty good overview of what your relationship with me will look like during that time. If you have one of my personal statement workshops, and I'll tell you a basic overview about how to write your personal statement. And then I'll tell you, write me a draft, tell me what all your stories are. And then we meet one-on-one. And we meet one-on-one as many times as needed until your personal statement is just right. Law schools don't do interviews like medical school. And so personal statement becomes very, very important. It is the part of the application that tells who you are as a person and substitutes for the interview. And so it's really important beyond your grade point average and your LSAT score. I think your personal statement's the most important thing in your package. So I'm there one-on-one to help you with it all the way. Then hopefully what happens is you've applied to multiple law schools and you start getting acceptances from various law schools. All of the financial assistance for law school is merit-based, meaning your application goes in, you get a letter back that says, congratulations, you've been admitted to law school, and here's how much money we're going to give you. After you're admitted, there are other need-based and merit-based scholarships that might be from that particular school. But overall, what you're going to be looking for when your admissions come back is what schools have admitted me, how much money are they offering me, and what's the cost of attending that particular school. So I can help you make the decision about financial aid so that you can make the smart decisions. People borrow money to go to law school. That's just a given. But I want to make sure that it's not really necessarily the best law school you get into, but the best one you can afford. And so I want to help you find the places that will offer you the most money so that whatever it is you have to borrow, you're going to get the job on the other side that's going to help you service that particular debt. And then, one of the things that I'm really proud of is that I know law school admissions people all over the state and all over the country. I am the treasurer of the Southwest Association of Pre-Law Advisors. And so we work very closely with law school admissions personnel. And so I can tell you lots of great insider things about what happens if you're put on a wait list, what happens if you're waiting and you haven't heard anything on your application. How is it you communicate with law schools to make sure they're still considering your application? One thing I would like to say at this point in time is that the people in our administration, especially in the Office of Undergraduate Education, where Derek and I both work, have worked really hard to assure that the University of Texas at Dallas is a university with a great reputation. And this plays out in law school admissions all of the time because UTD is recognized as a school where there is no grade inflation. If you make good grades at UTD, it's because the classes were hard and you excelled. And law schools all over accept UTD students. We have students at all of the top law schools in the country. This year, we matriculated two to the Yale University, the top law school in the country, and that's Broderick Johnson and Arib Siddiqui. And so we also have enough right now. We had 4 at Harvard. I think that's enough to be a clique. And so, but there's a law school for everyone. Some people will do better, especially in the connections they make in one of our regional law schools, where you'll be here in Texas applying for jobs with law firms that have graduates from all over Texas. And so we will help you build, I know people don't like that term networking, but there it is. We will help you build a network of lawyer comets who are out there, who've graduated from UTD, understand our culture, and will be there on the other side when you're looking for a job. Okay, so we have lots of programs and workshops to assist pre-law students. Application process, personal statements, resumes, all of the aspects of the law school admissions process. We have, or used to have, campus visits from law school admissions representatives. We still are doing those kinds of things virtually. So coming up in October, when my October calendar goes out, we have 4 different panels of law school admissions representatives from the region. The first one coming up October 4th is law school admissions representatives from the North Texas schools. So SMU, A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor, UNT Dallas. So you can, join in on that call, ask questions of the admissions reps on this panel, get yourself out in front of them. I can tell you tons about the law school admissions process, but there's nothing like hearing it for the admissions people themselves. We also facilitate visits to law school forums, law school open houses, and events. This year, the law school forums that are usually in the major cities are going to be online. The LSAC forum, there will be 4. It's September, October, November, December. I'm having a session on Friday at 1:30 about how to get the most out of law school forums. And so if you're in the admission cycle now, or if you're a year away and you'd like to visit some law schools virtually, then tune in on Friday and I'll tell you how to navigate it, how to be an avatar and go around and look in the different halls and find the law schools you're interested in, and what questions you should ask them when you have the opportunity. And I think the first question you should ask them is, will you give me a fee application waiver? And hopefully the answer will always be yes. Okay. Great activities we have for pre-law students. The first one is the John Marshall Pre-Law Society, or JMPLS, and it is our student organization that promotes an understanding of the legal profession, assists the members in gaining admission to law school. We have a fantastic board for JMPLS this year, and they have put together lots of events. It's great to have a community of other students who are also interested in going to law school. And one of the things that you get through that community that you don't get as much from me is there's lots of talk about what they see on Reddit and social media and other things that I don't pay any attention to about law school admissions. But you can hear their stories about taking the LSAT or why they're interested in going to law school, what schools they're thinking of applying to. And it's just a fantastic group of students who are all, thinking about law school. And so joining it is very easy. It's $20 dues, and that's for the whole time you're at UTD. And they are jmplsutd@gmail.com. And of course, if there's anything I've talked about during this that you're saying, hey, Dr. Kirby, what was that email? Feel free to email me. I'm the easiest one to find. We also have 3 different advocacy teams, moot court, mock trial, and mediation. And so you have an opportunity if you are interested in that sort of public speaking. These are, I know it's something that Derek and I talked about. It isn't necessary that you are planning to go to law school to get involved in any of these 3 teams. If you just want the experience, then we welcome you to the team. In fact, one of my top moot court people is a math major who has decided to go the PhD route and be a math professor rather than go to law school. But he still is one of the top people on the moot court team, and we're always happy to have him, even though lawyers typically don't do math. The mock trial team is the same. So moot court is appellate advocacy. We're arguing as if you're arguing before the Supreme Court. And so we do have a prerequisite for moot court that you have taken either constitutional law or civil liberties, which, as I said before, is a good thing for you to do anyway. Mock trial doesn't have any prerequisites, and it's more your courtroom drama. It's opening and closing statements, direct and cross-examination of witnesses. And so everyone on the team will act as an attorney and as a witness during the course of the competitions. And then mediation is I know it's strange to think that there's competitive peacemaking, but there is. And what we do in the mediation tournament is We have a team that has a mediator, an advocate, and a client, and they work in rounds with other schools to try to come to agreed resolutions of disputes. And so the disputes might be family law, personal injury, community disputes, and the skills that you learn in mediation are fantastic. Everything from your future as an attorney to how you resolve disputes with your family or your roommate. And then finally, the Innocence Project seminar. The Innocence Project of Texas receives files from people who believe that they were wrongfully convicted, and the Innocence Project determines whose cases to take to see if they can get people released from prison and get their convictions, get them exonerated. Natalie Retzel is an attorney with the Innocence Project of Texas, and she runs the seminar for credit every semester, Thursday night, 7 o'clock. It's an honors course, and so the honors students are given first priority to register for it, but there are always spaces available in it every semester. So, and it's fascinating to actually work on files and to see situations where people may have been wrongfully convicted and what went wrong in the system. And so it's a great way to see, honestly, to get a firsthand view of what's wrong with the criminal justice system. And I think this is the part where we get questions. There's my email address. Ashley Cohen is my assistant. And in fact, she's the queen of the calendar. And so probably the best way to get the best appointment to come in to see me is to email Ashley. And but you can also email me, and I will forward it to Ashley, and she'll get you on my calendar. I'm seeing people virtually all during the week. I can talk about anything from, people who are just considering law school and just getting started, all the way to people who want to apply now or thinking about taking the LSAT now. Anywhere along the process, I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one. Questions, Victoria and Victoria? Yeah, that's no pressure, eh? Now, did you say, Derek, that you had some folks who might have had some questions?
Yes. While Victoria and Victoria are pondering questions, I do have one in regards to knowing which area of law to go into. A student asked, should I know what I want to quote unquote specialize in before applying for law school? And how does it help if I do?
Okay. No, you don't have to know what area of law you're interested in before you go into law school. And I can tell you that that was my situation, is that I didn't have any idea. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer, and I got into law school. I never would have dreamed going in that I would end up being a corporate attorney. But that's where I ended up. I started off, I knew that I had an interest in litigation because I had been in high school debate and interested in public speaking. And so I had kind of thought of lawyers as more as like the courtroom lawyers. But then when I got in was when I figured out that, and I started off in business litigation, but I just liked all of the kind of issues and resolving disputes that I found in business law. I spent a lot of my career as an attorney negotiating deals and making settlements and resolving disputes. And that's what I figured out that I really enjoyed. Now, is it a good thing to have some idea? I think so. I went into it blind. I feel like if you have, like I say, if you have some feel for what lawyers do and you can see yourself doing that. There are some areas, most of law school is very general. You have to take contracts, torts, real property, legal research and writing, procedure, no matter where you go to law school. If you go to SMU or you go to Harvard, first year you're learning the same things. And so you don't really start taking classes that are specializations or what you're interested in probably until your last year or maybe the end of your second year. And so there are certain areas that if you are interested in those areas, it's probably good to find a school that might offer classes or externships or something in that area. And I'm going to throw a few of them out. Patent law. Patent lawyers typically have an undergraduate degree in some kind of science or engineering because what they're doing with patents has to do with that detail. So our computer science engineering majors, one of our graduates who is a biomedical engineering major is at A&M because they're a good patent law, intellectual property. University of Houston, same thing. Now, the other side of intellectual property, trademarks and copyrights, you can pick that up anywhere. And I love that area. It's very creative, you know, protecting people's ideas. I didn't ever practice that, but I did some of it for my musician friends, you know, protecting their music. And I think that's a really interesting area. Health law is sort of a specialization. And we have some of our expatriates from pre-health who come in, you know, being biology majors, chemistry majors, because they think they're going to go to medical school. And then they get into the lab and go, this is not me. And so they can take what they know from that kind of health background and shift to healthcare law. And so there are schools like St. Louis University, once again, University of Houston, Case Western Reserve, that kind of specialize in that. Environmental law is another area where sometimes people with science background or policy background will go to one of the schools like the University of Oregon that specializes in environmental law. Well, and there's like Tulsa, their environmental law is more like the oil and gas industry, the dark side of it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but most, you know, I think most of the decision about whether you can see yourself doing it is, like I was talking about, am I going to be a litigation type attorney or am I going to be a transactional type attorney? Because the majority of lawyers don't even end up going into the courtroom. They do transactional work like contracts, antitrust, like I was talking about, negotiation and settlement, representing corporations, representing nonprofits. And, you know, but then you have those kind of areas like family law, personal injury that are more litigation oriented. That was a long answer.
No, it was a great and nuanced answer. I appreciate that.
Nuanced. Ooh, I like being nuanced, Eric.
Excellent. I have another, but before that, would anyone like to ask Dr. Kirby a question?
I was wondering, I emailed you actually last week, and
I thought I recognized your name.
Yes. You told me to email, I believe her name's Angie from Leg Up Legal, and she got back to me. And I'm actually going to be talking to her on this next Monday about intellectual property law. And I wanted to know, like, what kind of questions would be good. Like, I know what I want to know, I just don't know how exactly to ask her.
Yeah, she is a very accessible person. So once you get in and start talking to her, I'm sure you won't, you know, have any trouble with it. If you can kind of focus your interest to her to be able to tell her why you're interested in intellectual property and which facet it is. Is it the patent side or is it the trademark and copyright side?
Well, part of it is I'm an ITS major, but I've recently taken business law, and that's kind of like shown, oh yeah, I do have an interest in kind of the organization and structure of law and that kind of thing. So I guess kind of just like the lifestyle and also what it would entail, considering like my major's not typical of those who are lawyers.
And I think what Angie will tell you, if you tell her, I don't think, I'm not sure if my major is typical of lawyers. I think she'll tell you about all the lawyers she knows who are in intellectual property, who have that kind of background, and how the law firms fight over them. So I think you'll find out that that's a good thing. But I think the best question that you can open with her, and then you're going to hear everything, is tell me what your life was like in the law firm as an intellectual property attorney. And I know Angie, she will tell you, she'll tell you about the law school she went to. She'll tell you about the internship she got. I think she interned with Under Armour at one point in time, which I thought was...
I kind of stalked her LinkedIn just to kind of have like a background. But I also wanted to ask her just like a main question I just thought of was just, is it what you thought it was going to be like?
I think that's a great question. I think that's just a great question. And the other thing that is great about Angie is I'm sure before you all are through, she'll hook you up with a mentor and find someone who's practicing in an area who then will be able to tell you everything about what a day in the life of an intellectual property attorney is. Like I said, I'm kind of jealous. If I were going to go back and do something, it's like I'm going to go back and become an intellectual property attorney. But no, at this point in time, I'm satisfied shaping the lawyers of tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to say. Oh, I'll be really happy because Victoria's going to go and be an intellectual property attorney. And ask her too about her law school experience.
Okay.
Because she did choose to go up to the University of New Hampshire, which is they have a specialization in intellectual property. And so she can also tell you about what other schools she thinks might be good for what it is you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm excited. We should have a conversation after that. You can tell me, how it went.
I've already made an appointment.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
This is fantastic. Just a quick note on doing what you want to do. I am a professional in higher education, and I know that I have found my passion because listening to you talk, Victoria, about what you are planning and what you're going to do got me genuinely excited. And so Dr. Kirby mentioned shaping the lawyers of tomorrow. That's what we're all about in our office. And so I got genuine goosebumps. I think they kind of went down by now, but I can't put them on camera. But it was awesome to hear that. So best of luck to you. Do keep in touch with Dr. Kirby on how that's going. And for those of you that are watching this playback, reach out to our office, reach out to Dr. Kirby. We are definitely here to support you and for maybe find answers to questions like this one, which involves internships. The question was, I am very interested in applying to law school. Is there any type of internship that I should be angling for? And what would you advise the process of me trying to obtain said internship?
Yeah. So I'm going to be brutally honest about internships at UTD. The internships are mostly managed through each of the individual academic organizations. And some of them are very good at it, and some of them are not as good. For example, if you are a JSOM major, they make you do an internship. So they have an incredible process for matching students with internships. And I found that my JSOM majors who go on to law school have, really interesting internships. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a law firm. Any experience that you get out in the business world, out in what I call the real world, which I know, Derek, I'm sorry to say this is not the real world, but then, there are others, like EPS, where a lot of our political science majors come from. They don't really have a network for finding legal internships. I wish that it was something that we were able to do through the Pre-Law Advising Center. And one day, it was something I had on our agenda before COVID hit, of how can we create a internship. That all being said, the John Marshall Pre-Law Society has a something that Broderick created called Judicial Handshake, where they all post internships that they have heard about. And so the Pre-Law Society is a great place to, to look and see what internships are available, like in law firms, in the government, and so forth. I pass on internship opportunities I get as I receive them. Finally, I'm going to kind of, a reality of our world right now is that a lot of internships that used to be out there aren't anymore because of COVID. This summer, I mean, everywhere, it wasn't just in pre-law, but everywhere, people had internships for the summer that got canceled. And it still is kind of a recovery that's happening. Now, interestingly, there are more online internships that are starting to pop up, and especially in the legal profession. It's interesting, LinkedIn has kind of changed. I used to not think of it as that great a tool. Victoria and I were talking about Angie. Angie taught me how to use LinkedIn to keep connected to the legal community and to lawyers. And there are opportunities on LinkedIn if you use law and legal internships as your search words, that you can actually find things on LinkedIn now where people are trying to put together, law firms are, letting students in and teaching them about their law firms, through virtual platforms. So look to the JMPLS, look to LinkedIn, stay in touch with me, and as I see internships. But I'm afraid, and then the career services, I think through career services, you can, get linked up to whatever internships might be available. But I would say this about internships, it's a lot of personal legwork. Wouldn't you agree with that, Derek, to get the right internships?
Definitely. Just from my undergraduate experience at UT Dallas, trying to find one, and I'm a BBS alum, so I'm from the School of Behavior and Brain Sciences, and so that was involved back. I was about to say back during my day, but that's true, back during my day. I actually have a follow-up question that just came to me. We're seeing graduate programs, and professional programs, a law school and medical school, having to, at this point in time, sort of reckon with the world, during the COVID era. And we're seeing some graduate programs kind of, I guess, alter would be a good word, their admissions requirements. Is there anything happening in the law school world that for our seniors who may be watching who are applying to law school, are there any changes that they should be aware of?
Not in the admissions process. Okay. They're still looking for great GPAs and great LSAT scores. They're still looking for personal statements that show, people who look like they are committed to the legal profession and have the aptitude for it and the commitment to it. I guess one of the big questions amongst law school admissions is, are we going to see a drop in applicants? Are we going to see a rise in applicants? And that's the big who knows at this point in time. Because if what happens, like that happened back at the recession, if we have a drop in applicants, then it means that folks who might have been kind of marginal might have an opportunity that otherwise they would not have had. It might be if you get great numbers that you're going to have more law schools court you to offer you money to go to their law school. And we're still in a very much a who knows. And then, of course, there's the issue of, do you want to go to law school online? Because right now, some of the law schools are completely online. Some are doing partial in person and partial online classes. And we don't know how long that's going to extend. So that's something people have to think about. And, we did a session on, you saw my PowerPoint for it, about taking a gap before you go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something to think about. If you feel like going to law school in the COVID era isn't going to suit you, then you might think about what kinds of things you can do during a gap. And the law schools don't care if you take a gap. As long as you're, doing something productive during that time. And it doesn't have to be law related. It can just be, I have a number of students who are working in order to save money for law school. So.
Excellent advice. Thank you. All the other questions I got prior to our presentation today were answered by your PowerPoint. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any other questions for Dr. Kirby?
I had one more. I was talking to Professor Polsey, who is like the business law professor, and asked him on his opinion on whether to go to law school immediately right after you graduate, or to wait like he did when he was already working. And he personally thought that it was better to have a job, see if you like that environment before you eventually go on to law school. What's your opinion on that?
Interesting. What I think about it is that it's a very personal decision, because and it's interesting. So we had that panel where I had 3 of my former students who took a gap before going to law school, and we decided that we need to have a panel of 3 of our students who went on to law school. So to ask them about, why did you decide to keep on going, and were you happy with your decision? Because, I know students in both places who are like one of the people on the panel, Anastasia Zalutsky. She took a year gap to work, and she just started at UT Law. And what she said was she just felt like she really needed a break from the rat race of school. And, she was very involved in everything, in moot court and double major. And she just felt like she needed to, take that break from studying and just make sure from that she was making the right decision to go to law school. And so she said she's happy now to be back to it, but she was glad that she took the break. Then, but I've had students that, went right to law school and said, I'm glad I didn't lose any momentum. I'm glad that I was ready by the time law school started. After that summer, I was ready to get back to it. So like I say, it's a very personal decision. And I think it's good to talk to people, so Matt didn't end up being a lawyer for very long and ended up getting into the academy instead. I spent 20 years as a lawyer before I got here. And, I didn't take a gap. I dropped out of school for a while as an undergraduate and then went back. And so for me, my motivation was, I made a terrible mistake thinking that I could, be the mayor of Dallas without going to law school. I mean, without getting an undergraduate degree. So I was really anxious to get back and finish the process. So, really personal decision.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for the questions. Thank you, Barbara, for joining us. This was very informative. I absolutely learned things that I did not know before. I did not know that law schools did not do interviews. So that personal statement is deeply important. Please feel free to reach out to our office, email Dr. Kirby, email me. If you're watching this on YouTube, those email addresses are in the description box below. But thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. And I hope that everyone is well, staying safe. And I look forward to doing more of these with you in the future.
Yeah. Thank you, Derek, and love the work you're doing with your students. And I'd love to see them come and talk to me.
Thank you so much. I'll send them your way.
Take care.
So much for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like our content, please subscribe to First Generation Comments right here on YouTube and click on the bell to make sure that you're notified every time we upload videos just like this one.